Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Glow Podcast. I'm here today with a very exciting guest. I have Leila Scott from the Center of Healing Arts and Sciences, and I'm super excited to talk to her. But before we get started, if you are new here, we are Tailored Marketing, and we partner with organizations in healthcare, longevity, and the wellness space to fuel growth through strategic marketing and sales strategies. So if you are interested in learning more, drop a comment below. Leila Scott, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm super excited to talk with you. If you would, I would love if you would just kind of go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction so the audience knows who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. So, my name is Leila Scott. I am the co-founder and owner of the Center for Healing Arts and Sciences in Houston, Texas. I have sort of a multi-hyphenate, I guess, background in the sense that my first career was event coordinating and food. I had gone to culinary school,
Cool.
and that was my everything. And then one day it was like, boom, other plans that I had kind of put on the shelf a long time ago were asking to come back into the forefront. And so I did a deep dive into yoga and I became a yoga instructor and really missed business when I did that, even though I loved teaching yoga.
Yeah.
And then I eventually found myself with my sort of end all be all calling, which is getting my master's in Chinese medicine. So I am an acupuncturist, and everything that being a physician of Chinese medicine involves. But along with all of that came the dream, a very long held dream to create an integrative, holistic practice for
Yeah.
Houston and to bring in multiple modalities of healing. And that takes a team, you know? And
For
so
sure.
we've assembled a wonderful team and hopefully, one that people are really resonating with here in Houston to provide their well care.
Yeah, no, that's super, super awesome. So, yeah, that's kind of a little bit about how you came to the Center for Healing Arts and Sciences. And I guess, so what all do you offer over there? It sounds like it's kind of a wide variety of everything.
Yeah, we try to have a nice balance between a lot of options, but not so many that people would get analysis paralysis or like choice, how that is.
Yeah,
Too many things to choose from, you can't decide.
for
So,
sure.
what we have is multiple different types of talk therapy. So, everything from CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, or DBT, or family systems, or EMDR, you may have heard of,
Yeah,
depth therapy, Jungian analysis, all these different options depending on what somebody's personal goals are. But we also have, of course, the acupuncture and Chinese medicine, holistic nutrition, yoga therapy, massage therapy, and energy work. Human design, that's a new
yeah,
addition, which we're really
that's
excited
awesome.
about. We have healing through art, which is kind of like a form of art therapy. And each of those things can be engaged with one on one, but then we also offer a lot of group offerings. So we have women's groups, men's groups, teen and tween groups, young adult groups. We offer classes and workshops, sound healings, pretty much anything anyone might want.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys have
We try to have
basically.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's super, super cool. And do you see that a lot of clients, patients that you all have coming to you, are they kind of participating in multiple different things?
That's the idea. Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting thing because nobody wants to be force fed. You know what I mean? Sometimes people will call in and they know I'm going through a certain crisis and I need a talk therapist, right? So it
Yeah.
would be kind of potentially overwhelming to them if we were like, oh, well, you might have called for a therapist, but we're going to also stick you with a nutritionist and this and that and the other. So we don't force anything upon anyone. However, we do try to create options for people to make it accessible because, of course, the whole idea is mind, body, spirit healing. And it's like, on the one hand, whatever modality the person called in wanting, that's going to inevitably treat all of them in some respects.
For sure.
Like we can't really separate mind and body. A common example I'll use is like if somebody's getting talk therapy week after week after week, maybe month after month, but no one's really looked at their diet or their sleep habits, right? And maybe they're eating a ton of sugar or not any fiber. It's like we all know now that the gut health matters so much, and it's almost, to me, it would be almost unethical to not look at hey, I know you really called here for talk therapy and we're getting a lot of work done here, but I would be, remiss to not suggest that you at least have a consultation with our holistic nutritionist
For
to
sure.
get on track with that as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like that makes so much sense, like
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, this might be another aspect of why you're affected in this way. And it's just like it's very, very holistic, integrative, like our bodies are interconnected, which is an idea I feel like that people are fairly accepting of, but it's also sometimes it takes someone putting the dots together for them.
That's right. They
Yeah.
sometimes do need a little bit of guidance, and every now and again we
Yeah.
do get somebody who calls in and they know we offer a lot of options and they aren't entirely sure where they want to begin, and in which
Yeah.
case we can guide them based on what their chief complaint is. Okay, it seems like you should start here. Let's do a few of these sessions and we'll work in that and so on and so forth.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. But ideally it's like, okay, we want to treat your body as a whole. So like let's look at these kind of different offerings and
Yeah,
different things that we can help you accomplish really.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's so, so awesome. And so you have everybody from kind of like nutrition to talk therapy to like acupuncture, like you were saying, yoga as well. So it's really just kind of about that overall health and helping.
About that overall health. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, another piece of it is, like through the years of doing my clinical work, I will work with people who maybe they're going through cancer or something really major, and they're
Yeah.
trying to they're doing their Western care, but they also know there's so much on offer in other arenas, and they're really having to do so much research, to piece together their care. And we also all know that sometimes you have to kiss a lot of frogs when it comes to therapy or any kind of
For sure.
modality. And it's like, so what we really try to do is curate this team of wonderful individuals so that even if it's not a match, like if somebody gets placed with one of our therapists, that's sure to be a highly qualified, good therapist. But if it weren't a match right away, we have so many others to choose from that we vetted, so they don't have to go about assembling their team all over and driving, right? Because Houston,
Yeah.
we're like the fourth largest city, or maybe we're even the third largest city now.
It's just a big city.
It's a big city and the traffic to match, so if you can come
Yeah.
one place and coordinate your care there, isn't that nice?
It's a lot easier for sure for somebody who potentially is like used to having to go to maybe 4 or 5 different practitioners.
Yes.
So yeah, no, that does. It makes it a lot more accessible and just easy. And it's when something's
Yeah.
easy, you're a lot more likely to do it.
100%, self-included,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I relate to that for sure. That's why I say it because I'm like I know how that is. Like life is busy and if something's easy for you, then you'll probably do it. If it's not easy, you're not going to do it.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's so cool though. So I guess what like kind of gave you the idea to integrate everything into one? Like was there a specific moment in time where you were like, wow, like this is something we need kind of?
Well, yeah, so the origin story is kind of sweet. I would say I can remember where I was, what year it was, what stop sign I was at, whose car I was in when I said it out loud for the first time. It was 2001. I had just
Wow.
moved back from San Francisco right after that moment I talked about earlier, where it was like everything. It really was 9/11. Interestingly. I was living in San Francisco, had a great career out there doing what I was doing. And something about that crisis really made me tap back into what I had originally come here to do, it felt like, which was
Yeah.
the healing modalities. And so, yeah, I said out loud, I'm doing this. I will bring an integrative, holistic wellness place to Houston. I will do
Yeah.
that for Houston. And then years later, I met my now husband, and I think on our second date or something, he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" Because I was just in the midst of my degree for Chinese medicine. And I was like, "Well, I want to start an integrative, da 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 da." And he said, "Well, that's crazy because I've had that same vision or a similar one." And so, yeah, and he's actually a talk therapist. He does depth, like sort of Jungian informed therapy.
Cool.
And we ended up getting married, and it just made sense to join
Yeah.
forces. And it wasn't really a business choice. It was like, well, why would you go and do your thing over there and me over here separately when we've had this vision and we're starting to, really build? Why wouldn't we just go ahead and build
Do it together.
into the dream that existed, before we
Yeah.
even met each other? Set about doing that, and it's been a long time coming. I mean, we started doing this in 2011 and 12, kind of respectively, made the business official in 2014, scaled the business 3 years ago, almost exactly, into a new location, bigger space, and everything. But yeah, it really felt like a calling, the difference between sort of a job and a vocation, that sacred call to do something. It's been like
That's
that.
really cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome too that you and your husband have been able to do it together, and like kind of crazy also that you guys both had like very similar visions. It's almost like, okay, like this must be meant to be in like more than one way, you know? It's funny how sometimes you get those kinds of signs and you're like, okay, so I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah. But
That's
but the
cool.
thing the thing with doing what you're supposed to be doing doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy, right?
Yeah.
It's been
No,
a lot of hard work, but it has felt, like I said before, sacred. Really
yeah.
hard.
Sure. I feel like anything worth doing is hard, but like with, I guess, growing the practice and like you even talked about expanding and everything over the past couple of years. So, what I guess has been some of the challenges as you've been growing the practice?
I would say one of the main challenges, and probably several kind of our spokes that come off of that main hub, were that John and I, my husband and I, were both primarily clinicians. And we
Yeah.
were clearly good at what we did because we were growing and growing just when it was the two of us in a small little mom and pop shop kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this dream, as it started to grow, began to require pieces of ourselves that we had not necessarily cultivated, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. In particular, so before we moved and scaled the business larger, it was very manageable. It was definitely getting more and more sizable, and it had its workload to go with it. But when we moved, there was some naivete on my part. Kind of felt like we've been wanting to grow and move and do this big change for a long time. Finally found the perfect place to move to and get settled. And I had that in my nervous system as I did it, I just crossed a finish line, but I had really just crossed a starting line.
Yeah. It was
So I
a
had
new
to,
starting point.
yes, it was like I didn't, and really when you scale a business, I've learned it's not it's not the same as just a slightly bigger version of what you were doing before. In some ways, it's like starting a whole new operation, you
Yeah.
know. So it might as well this might as well kind of be our third year in business, even though it's really like our 13th or 14th.
Yeah. Because when you did move, there were so many intricacies within the business that completely changed. Like you said, you were almost starting over. And like I feel like in any business, I have my own business too. And like, I mean, I can definitely relate to that. Like when you change something and it's almost a foundational change. So everything else kind of changes with it too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Big
And
time.
it even like goes to like things like we were talking about like holistic and integrative health and like our bodies and how they're so interconnected, and like it almost like kind of reminds me of that. If like one thing changes, then
Mhm.
everything else changes.
Yes, yes. It's just another version of an ecosystem, whether that's your microbiome or your mind, body, spirit or your business. Yes, very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, it's just one thing can kind of change everything. And I guess over the next year or two, with obviously your the business always continuing to change, and change is good, but it's also brings its challenges. What kind of do you picture for you all over like the next year or two?
Well, that's a great question. And again, with kind of writing that fine line between what we plan and then what life has in store for us and trying to be flexible to things.
Yeah,
We are more and more getting, we started this business with student loan debt and just real life stuff, right? Raising kids, all that stuff. We did not have like some giant nest egg or whatever to be like, oh, here, let's just take this. And so we've been running the operation with very little admin support for a long time.
Yeah.
And so part of the goal is to really get the right people in the right places so that the business can be well supported and that I, as I'm at this point the CEO, my husband ended up coming up with some really big other projects. So it's really just me doing this now. And he's a clinician in the practice still, he always will be. But yeah, so getting the right people in the right places. And I feel like that is part of the sacred work as well. You've got to have people who really understand, like, we're not making widgets. All respect to somebody who's making widgets. This is really deep work that people come in. They call in, whether they're in crisis mode or they've been dealing with something for a long time that they just finally get the courage to call and ask for help.
Yeah.
This cannot be we can't have people in place, even if they're kind of back of house employees who don't feel called to it.
Yeah. So everyone's got to be along for the mission, kind of.
Yeah. And so that's exciting. We're making progress there. And with that is sort of the rest of what could happen over the next couple of years, right? Which is just being able to have more impact for more of Houston, making ourselves, kind of, I would say, like putting us even more on the map, so that people realize. One of the things that I don't want to hear anymore that sometimes I hear is people will walk in and I joke, but it's true that our building is one of the healers on the team because it is very much, it's curated to start the healing process like right when people come inside, and they'll say, oh, my shoulders just dropped right when I walked in. I already feel safe here. I already feel like I'm going to be okay, but what I don't want to hear anymore is, why didn't I know y'all were here?
Yeah.
Why did I not know you were here sooner? Yes, that's always kind of painful because it's like, oh, no, we have been here and we're here for you,
Yeah.
And also just furthering the kind of creative combining, of what we have to offer in ways that people can engage more than one modality. Again, not to overwhelm, but because there is value in tending to mind, body, and spirit at once, if it's possible. So much of the way we're conditioned and the way we live our lives, it's like people have everything compartmentalized, like this is my thinking mind, this is my feeling body, and this is my spiritual life. And our goal is to help people braid those three back together. So there's kind of one strong core and cord running down the middle.
That makes sense. So there's also like an education piece to it almost, where like it's like when they come in, it's educating them on like, okay, this is why, yes, you came to us for this thing, but this is so interconnected with this thing that for us to properly work on this, we need to engage in this almost. I mean, we don't need to, but it's going to help with the healing process faster and have a more holistic approach to healing too.
Exactly.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. And I guess, so you mentioned as well that like when people are coming in, you hate when they're saying like, we didn't know you existed, which I'm sure, especially because a lot of the people that you are serving are, going through challenging things and like they really need someone to help them. So how are people primarily kind of finding out about you guys right now?
Well, we post across 5 different platforms all the time,
Yeah.
So it's funny though, because you're hip to this, those don't necessarily translate one to one. It's not like somebody sees your Instagram post and thinks, okay, I trust you already. Let me go ahead and give you a call, right? It's this like slow process of gaining trust. So I was born and raised in Houston. I've lived lots of other places, but here I've ended up back. And so that gives me a bit of like a ear to the ground in terms of what's going on out there. And so when I run into people, it's always like, I see what you're doing. I'm following you. I'm watching. I'm so impressed. I'm really grateful you're doing this. I'm going to be coming in soon, so slowly but surely people are starting to, like I said, like build that trust and that we can be a resource for them. We have our community that grows, one way or the other. They share their email address. And so we send 2 emails a week to our community. We try to make one be informative in the sense that here's what's on offer for you here. If it's a class or workshop or something that they might want to take part in.
Yeah.
And then the other one, we try to just make kind of fun and informative for them, like it's a healthy recipe or a playlist or something. We're getting out to do some of we get asked a lot to do like a booth, like we'll be at a law firm,
Yeah.
for folks that people more and more, like in HR, for example, are valuing keeping their employees healthy in mind, body, and spirit. And we're a
Definitely.
great resource for that. So we'll get calls to do some things like that. We're going to be at University of Houston soon for their student body and faculty doing something fun.
That's
So
awesome.
it's just like getting out into the community, almost doing little kind of mini experiences, you could call them,
Yeah.
so that they can see, oh, because like one we'll do soon, there will be a little bit of breath work, a little bit of yoga, and a little bit of healing through art.
Yeah.
So they'll get to say, oh, the breath work is what resonated with me. Okay, well then come on, twice a week we have breath work. Come be part of our
Yeah.
community. And we're doing other stuff that I probably can't think of at the moment, but
Yeah.
it's just a hard push to really, there's a lot of options for people no matter where they live, but when you live in a big city like this, people have options. There's a lot of things that they can choose from to do with their time and with their
Yeah.
money, and
Yeah.
so we can't expect them to just do it with us if they don't know who we are or how we work or how good it feels to be present in our community or in our space or with one of our clinicians. So, we're
Yeah.
getting out there.
No, for sure. That's super, super awesome. And yeah, it's just like you said too, being in a big city, sometimes it is harder because like there are so many options. It's like, okay, how do we kind of set ourselves apart? And I feel like you do have something that's very unique. So that also works to your advantage with like, okay, there's other places that they can go for maybe talk therapy, or there's places they can go for nutrition, or places they can go for yoga, but there's not that one place where you can go for kind of everything.
That's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. One of our favorite posts is, or one of my favorite posts that we've done is, it's like where your therapist talks to your acupuncturist, where your nutritionist is, collaborating with your, whichever
Yeah.
yoga therapist, whatever. So we're all with deep respect. If we share a patient with total confidentiality and respect, and with the patient's permission,
Yeah.
there's collaboration that goes on like how can we best serve this individual. So really, like, it's anybody who comes in that does engage in multiple modalities, they're getting the expertise of multiple people. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
But I will say that's another thing that we hear frequently when people come in is they'll say, no one else is doing this. No one else is
Yeah.
doing this. And that's been, you asked about challenges earlier. That's been one of the challenges is like, I feel like frequently when you're starting a business, it's probably been done before. Some
For
version of that
sure.
has been, and there's a bit of a template you can follow. We have been just kind of groping around in the dark and making the path, hacking away
Yeah.
the overgrowth as we kind of lay down our roots and become what we always wanted to be. You know,
Yeah.
it's been real challenging to not have that map to follow,
Yeah.
but to have
There's no
to,
blueprint for
there's
it,
no blueprint for
really.
this.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I do feel like, yeah, with a lot of things in business, it's like, okay, we've seen other people do it successfully, or we've seen other people fail. And it's like you can take kind of learning lessons from both and be like, okay, what do I want to kind of implement into my own business? But with this, yeah, I think you're right. Like, you see acupuncturists working independently, or places you can just go and they have acupuncture and maybe a few other Chinese medicine modalities, but like, you don't see it where acupuncture, yoga, talk therapy, all of these different modalities of healing, really.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I know. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. I think that that's super awesome and honestly really, really useful. And I think it's paving the way too for more people to do similar things as
I
well,
hope
because I
so.
do think there is such a need for it. I think there's
Absolutely.
such a benefit to having it too, like you said, all in one place, because even like it just makes it so much easier because say you move somewhere new, you don't want to have to look for a therapist, acupuncturist, yoga studio, like art teacher. So, it's like you can't find all of these things. You don't have
I
time
know.
for it.
I know. I know. One stop shop.
Yeah, exactly. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let everyone know where is the best place to find you online, and then I will also include all the links in the show notes as well. But if you want to tell everyone, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So our website is the Center for HAS.com. H stands for healing and then arts and sciences, the A and S. So the Center for HAS.com. All of our socials are at Center for Haas.
Awesome.
And if anybody lands on the website or anywhere, just that we'd love for them to sign up for our newsletter so that they can stay informed, whether they're in Houston or not, because as we grow, we have more and more options that are virtually available as well
Awesome.
as in person. Yeah, yeah. So you don't have to be in Houston to be part of the center.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, I will include everything. I really, really appreciate you coming on and sharing more about the Center of Healing Arts and Sciences, and I wish you all the luck.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Taylor. Appreciate it.